evening, and welcome in, Warriors, to another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Robert Hagan. Man, what is happening? We're back in studio.
Back in studio, excited. Guess what? It is Golden Throne Week. I am so everything today at the junior high, the high school. That's all we talked about. It was Golden Throne and how we feel about it being back after a year gone. So it's excited. So even the students, even the junior high students, are excited about it.
Hold on.
Right there. Okay. Now, hopefully, the people online can hear me. I think it was trying to go through the webcam. So, anybody listening online on the R&R Sports Report on Facebook or YouTube, let me know if you can hear us, because we haven't been in studio for 2 months and we can't really test it without going on air. So we will see if it works. If not, we have a backup plan. But yes, it is Golden Throne Week. It's ridiculous. We always, coming up to a show, we're going to do a bunch of notes and get ready for it. I was cutting notes. Like, there's just stuff that we usually do every single week that is just, there's no time. The sports-related draft, which I was super excited for. It's my turn to pick the draft. We've already talked about it. It might get cut this week just due to time constraints. Good. Mom can hear me fine, and that's all that matters. Everyone else, they don't need to hear. So, yeah, hopefully we get to the sports-related draft. Maybe not. But in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to have the legendary Hall of Famer Denny Grubb in studio to talk everything.
I'm excited, dude. I'm just going back and refreshing my memory of when I first met Denny. We'll talk about that later, but just the memories having with him, working with him, getting the information. I don't know if you got the 2 emails. Yep. He sent us new emails today.
Yeah, about how much money has been raised for the Golden Throne. It's been fantastic. So we're going to talk Golden Throne. Obviously, we're going to talk about Ed Chef because we were hoping to have him on last week. We didn't have the chance to, so I'm sure Grubb has some fantastic Ed Chef stories. Baseball starts this week. Basketball is getting closer and closer to postseason time, so we will be talking up his ear for a while. I marked out 30 minutes. Who knows? Who knows how long we talked to Denny?
We might have another Sean Pullman.
It might
be a 45-minute.
It might top Sean Pullman at this point. Yeah. You never know. And then obviously we have football to talk about. There were 4 games this weekend. All of them were terrible, and no one watched them, and there was zero drama in any of them. Right? No, it's just what a fantastic weekend of football. So we were going to spend a lot of time on that. A lot of local sports going on as well. But first, we have a Hall of Fame that went through that's going to turn into a rant at the end of the show. I guarantee it. But we do have a guest on the show. She has been fantastic this season. Her name's Sarah Muhausen. Sarah, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Let me turn on the microphone and do all the normal stuff. But Sarah, thank you so much for hanging out. How are you doing today? Okay, I have to ask you to get right up on that microphone. We don't have the best stuff on here, but so obviously breaking the blocks record just recently for LC. But other than that, how has the season been going for you?
The season's going really good for just the whole team. I feel like we've been the most connected since my time being here, and we just have a really good flow, and everyone enjoys playing with each other.
So on the season right now, 16-3, 10-3 in conference. Little misleading because we had that episode a couple weeks ago where both the girls and the guys had to forfeit the 2 games on the road. Just the fact that you guys got on the buses and traveled to the location and to be turned away. Tell us a little bit about how all that went down and your perspective on it.
So we got on the buses, and we test every week. Not everyone has to test. So we got on the bus, out, and then everybody tested. So then we got there, and one of our players had tested positive, and we found that out. And so our understanding was that she wasn't going to be able to play, and that we were most likely just going to have to play with masks on. And then the following morning, before we went to our pregame shoot around practice, you're all pretty disappointed with that because they were both really big games. We were going to play Oregon Tech and then Southern Oregon University, who are both really good in our conference. So, I mean, it was pretty disappointing. And then just kind of in disbelief after that. So.
Right. And that's the big thing. A lot of things changed even when we called game that week after the cancellation or the forfeit. I hate using that word, especially for something that happened with COVID and based on COVID. And but going against Bushnell, and you took on Bushnell, and I think we only had one girl off the bench, and I think that was Schroeder that was wearing the mask. But everybody at Bushnell had to. I don't know where the rules change with what they were dealing with. I know the girls and the guys both was dealing with that same issue. How come only they had to wear a mask and we weren't?
I'm not too sure. I know that our rules, it had to do with your time in quarantine. So if you were vaccinated, like the whole week at practice, we were wearing masks and we had to wear masks. And then our quarantine date, I guess, was up on the Thursday before the Friday game. So Thursday was our last day of wearing masks, whereas like Rachel and Maddie Holm ended up having to wear masks, and I think Matea Green also did as well. And their quarantine day was up on Sunday,
right,
if I remember right. So they had to wear masks until Sunday.
So I know you've got to be just as over this COVID thing as we are. And we've talked, with Khalil and Al and all, and I'm assuming the same things happen on the girls' side as the guys' side, getting tested a couple times a week, pregame, the whole 9 yards. So, how does that affect you practicing? And we did talk a little bit of pre-show that your schedule is kind of eased up a little bit with schooling. How does your day look on campus?
Yeah. All right. Apologies to anybody listening online. Usually, when we hook up the audio, I have to turn it up, and apparently, I didn't turn it up because they all of a sudden they couldn't hear any of us. So I think we got it figured out now. I was over here trying to mess with buttons and knobs, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why you let me on this side of the table.
You're on that side. So while you're still doing it,
Yeah,
let's
sorry.
talk a little bit of high school. We talked. Right now, we're excited. There's a lot of things going on. Lake City, that's part of the Lewiston group. We're playing with them, but talk a little bit. You are from Hayden, Idaho, and Lake City. Talk about your high school career. What did you do high school up there, sports wise?
Sports-wise, I did track and field and basketball. I played on the freshman team, JV team, and varsity, so I went through the whole program. And then in track and field, I did high jump and triple jump.
Right. And I did see and read that you were a state qualifier for a triple jump. How far could you jump?
My PR was like 33 feet, if I remember right. It wasn't anything crazy.
Did you ever consider being a two-sport athlete here? I know there's lots of things that could happen and all that, but was that ever a thought to go through your mind?
Initially, right when I was looking at here, it was, but
that doesn't work. Okay.
We're having lots of issues. We've been out of the studio for forever, and so because our schedules don't work 100%, and so we'll see how that goes. But you were saying, I apologize.
at first I kind of was interested in that, but it wasn't really an option with basketball. I don't know if they've ever done a two-sport athlete on the basketball side, like doing basketball and track and field. But at this point, it would just be
Right. All right. I just want to test this one. All right, this should work. I just got to turn it back.
Yeah, I'd like you to explain to Coach Brian Orr that she's not playing.
Take a microphone to the face.
Hey. There are dangers to every aspect of things, right?
Got to be something, So you are majoring in biology.
Yes.
Any plans after you?
I'll go to grad school as my plan, and I would like to be a marine biologist.
Everybody says marine biology. Even my daughter even talked about doing marine biology when
Yeah.
she was in high school and all that too. So that major, and what is it about that just excites you?
I don't know. I love the ocean, and I would love to, in particular, study whales. Um, I just think they're super. Excuse me. I just think they're super cool, and it's just like there's so much unknown in the ocean.
Yeah, especially if you're from Hayden and all that. So you on the water a lot. I mean, I've been up there to the lake many times, and it's been exciting to be up there. So it's got to be
Yeah.
for you just exploring up in your area. It's got to be nice to be in the river systems in this area also.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about college career. You have played from the moment you stepped on campus as a freshman. Played all 27 games in that one. I think the big one for me is seeing you had 45 rebounds as a freshman,
Yeah.
and 2/3 of them were defensive, one to a third of offense. What part of your game really do you pride on? Is it the block side that you really like the most?
I mean, I feel like that's what I'm best at. It does feel nice when you get a lot of blocks. It kind of hypes you up. Um, but definitely, I just say rebounding is also a big part of it as well.
Mhm.
Even the components that go into rebounding, so boxing people out so that other people like Maddie Holm can get the rebound. But yeah.
Yeah, and you take a look at your sophomore year. Yes, it was kind of cut a little short because of COVID and all that. Played in 20 games, 46 points, just under 40 rebounds there. And then you look at what's happening this year. This year, putting up some crazy numbers in the 17 games right now. Sarah, you're averaging just over 10 points a game, 8 rebounds a game. Already have 44 blocks on the season. It's just crazy to see these numbers uh, coming from you, and you still got a couple years to go. What do you pride your game on the most?
Probably my
So is there a place so far you've gotten to travel around? You looked at the schedule so far this year. Is there a place you like to go and travel, and where you've played so far this year away from the activity center? Is there something that you really a place you like to go play games?
probably from the places that we've been so far. I mean, George Fox was really cool. It's cool to go see some of the different campuses. Like we just went to Evergreen, and their gym wasn't so nice, but their campus was really cool. Like walking, it was like forest. Felt like
We've had a couple of conversations with that one, especially them being the gooey ducks, and that was the first place that we when we heard that name the first time doing that game, it was kind of crazy. But to think about where they're at has to be a big plus, and you guys getting ready to go over to Portland, play Multnomah, and you'll also be playing uh, Warner Pacific, and so do you guys get much go around and see things or anything like that?
not really. I mean, we have gone on trips in the past, like when we went to nationals, and then we've gone to California a few times. When we're there for like an experience time, and we often have like a day off in between, we'll go kind of explore. But just on weekend trips like this, there's really not that much time between. We have our shoot arounds, and then we just go back to the hotel and do homework and try to stay on top of school.
Right. And so you look ahead. You're on the road the next 2 weekends, and we talked to them a few minutes ago. You're going to miss Golden Throne. We were hoping that you were going to.
I'm not too sure. I mean, we should win those. That's the plan as of any game. But we're constantly changing defenses, so it's hard to say exactly what our game plan will be.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've watched with Brian a lot with his coaching style. You guys are mixing it up quite a lot defensively, scheming against the, one game I've seen you a lot more zone, and then all of a sudden it's like major man on man, and you hardly see anything different. So
yeah,
what is it like playing for Coach Orr?
He keeps you on your toes. That's one way to put it. Just constantly changing. 1 week we'll be like sold out to this zone. We have multiple different zones, so some are more man-to-man and some are more just kind of out there. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of scouting, so we like learn our opponent's plays before we play them. So it's almost like we know their plays better than them at times. So it's just, you're always learning new things, and you have to stay really like sharp and keep on top of it.
Right. And so you talk about scouting them and seeing those. So, I mean, where technology has come so much, it's been huge. I work with the Clarkson High School assistant coach, and just watching him do his thing over the last couple of weeks, just doing and prepping and all that. How has that changed from you for high school compared to college stuff? Is it a lot more intense, and how much time do you put in doing that?
Yeah, I'd say it's a lot more intense from high school. In high school, we really only had like maybe 5 plays, if that. And then we'd kind of scout, not really. The most scouting we did would be like for Fight for the Fish when we couldn't hear. And so we were like contemplating our hand signals and how we were going to handle this if we saw it, since we couldn't really talk about it. But here it's like we do a lot of scouting. We have a lot of plays, which the plays have significantly like decreased in number since my freshman year, but we still have a lot.
Right. How many on average? How many are your number? How many times a game do you get your number called? Do you think? I mean, we bounce it around, but I mean, how many times can you expect Coach Orr to give you a play call?
Almost every time. It kind of depends. Like sometimes we have like a set offense that we run if he doesn't call anything, whether it's man or zone. And so probably about 75% of the time he's going to call something. And if not, then we just kind of run what we're supposed to. And then our point guards also hold the capability of being able to call whatever they want to call. So,
yeah. One thing, I was talking with Brian Danner earlier today, and we were talking about how deep like the shooting is right now for the women's team. If it was up to you, who gets that last shot? It was very difficult for either of us to be able to answer that question.
For like just any shot, or for like a three-pointer?
You got 10 seconds left in the game. You're setting up that final play. Who's that number you want that ball to go to?
Oh, that's tough. Probably definitely either Callie Stevens, Maddie Holm, or Heidi Selman would probably be my top 3. Just because with Callie, Maddie, and Heidi, it's like you can put the ball in their hands and almost guarantee that they're going to find a way to either score or get fouled if they have to. So
yeah, and when I did ask, Danner would obviously added you in there for the same reason as Sarah. At least, if anything, she's going to get fouled, and she's great from the free throw line, is what he said. But it's great that there are 3 or 4 different options on the women's team for that last shot, and it's shown with how you guys have played this year and how close all of these games have been.
Yeah,
it's just every Friday and Saturday you get on to check out the game. It's usually when I'm getting to work. You guys are halfway through the second half, probably maybe 5-6 minutes left, and I'm always on there, and it's always either tied or somebody's up a possession or two, and it just stays that way over there. Does that make the games more fun for you guys, or is it just does that start wearing on you a little bit?
Both. It depends on the game, because some of the games it's definitely like we're supposed to win this, like we're definitely the better team. So if those games are a little close, it can be a little stressful, I guess, just because you're like, I know we can play better than this. But it also keeps it more fun because it's not fun when you're beating a team by like 50 and you're just kind of like second half and you're like, okay, like it was fun at the beginning, but now I'm ready for this to be over. So, I mean, I've enjoyed it.
So we're looking at what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks left here in the regular season.
Yeah. Before playoffs, kind of.
Last game, February 19th, it looks like. Are starting to get things dialed in for postseason play, or still focused on this weekend?
Focused on just like the present. Yeah, we won't start looking to postseason until that's like right around the corner.
Okay. All right, Robert, hit her with the fun stuff.
All right, this time we've done a lot of the sports stuff. Now let's have a little fun. We like to ask all of our guests a few just different questions, and see where you're at. So, if you could host a talk show, who would be your first guest?
Probably Will Smith. If it was anybody I could ask.
Anything. What
would you make sure the audio works before you get there? I'm sorry. I've been scrambling over here.
Well, you had a meeting tonight too before.
Well, it's not even just that. It's just like the comments I'm getting, and again, everybody is watching on Facebook right now, especially Wayne Grubb, and Haley's been messaging me. It's like, it sounds good now. Now it doesn't. Now she's fading in. Now she's out. Now it's like, okay, what? So I just went with the backup plan, went with the old reliable.
I don't know. That's what we got to do.
It works.
So, all right. So Will Smith, what would you ask him? What would be your first question to Will?
I don't know. I'd probably ask him if he was happy with his life and with his life choices.
Yeah, he's an intriguing person.
He's
very intriguing. Yeah, I mean, just watching some of his, we like to do, one of the teachers I work with likes to do a lot of motivational stuff. And some of his motivational videos are just
like how you guys are both so insightful with your questions. Mine would have been, what was your favorite movie that you made? Or something stupid.
Well, maybe I need to send you a couple of his motivational videos.
It was. I've watched I Am Legend. That was inspirational. I don't know what it was inspirational of, but.
So, household chores. What one do you hate to do the most?
I hate folding laundry. I'll do laundry, but it'll take me forever to fold it.
Do you okay, so now I have to ask this because it's funny. My kid doesn't wear matching socks. Do you at least wear matching socks?
Yes.
Okay. Because she just throws them in the drawer and just pulls them out. That's all it is. Just pulls them out.
I mean, I used to do that when I was little, but since I've grown up,
yeah.
I'll
do we ever grow up? That's the thing. I don't think I've ever grown up.
Check. Do I have matching socks?
There you go.
I do. I'm good.
There you go. How about your biggest pet peeve? What's your biggest pet peeve in life?
I really don't like slow walkers. Like if you're in a hallway and you're stuck behind people and they like make that like almost like that wall and you're like stuck and you can't get around them.
It's one of those things like we need a passing lane at Walmart or we need a passing lane at someplace, get around them, just to move around them. So,
yeah.
What is one important skill everyone should master?
I think the ability to learn, to like listen and to learn and to take like helpful like insight.
I like that one. Mm-hmm. All right, this one's come up a bunch over the last few months, and we have asked all of our guests, are you a big PB&J fan? You like peanut butter and jelly? Mm-hmm. All right, so when you're making your sandwich and you're laying it out there, what's the ratio of peanut butter to jelly?
Probably equal, if not maybe like a tiny bit more jelly.
We're getting more jelly lately.
The stats are starting to trend the other direction now. So, all right, you talked about being a basketball fan, huge basketball fan. You did track and field. Do you watch any other sports or anything like that?
I really don't watch that much sports.
Do you have a favorite sports team?
I mean, for men's college basketball, it'd be Gonzaga just because it's close to home. And then for women's college basketball, probably either Gonzaga or Stanford.
Cool. All right, and this one's kind of a hard one before we get into let Randy do the word association ones. But who's your favorite teammate to play with?
Oh, that's tough.
I'm putting you on the spot,
That's
so
really
I
tough.
know.
I mean, probably go with two. Heidi Selman and Rachel Schroeder, probably, just because I've played with them for 3 years now, and I really like the lob over the head passes. That's like my favorite, and Rachel's really good at those. And then Heidi's always in the right spot when I need to dish it to somebody, and she has good hands. So
There you go.
I like it.
All right. Speaking of those two and a few others, we also end all of our interviews with the word association. Just give you a name, give me the first thing that pops in your mind, and we're going to start with one of those players, Rachel Schroeder.
She's always positive, and probably also really, really like smart. Just I don't know. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
How about Maddie Holm?
Goofy.
And Callie Stevens.
High energy.
And Heidi Selman.
Positive.
And Coach Brian Orr.
Like that funny like team dad.
I don't think I've ever heard that one before.
Just
Team
'cause-
dad.
Yeah, because like whenever we go anywhere, he's like, "Let me get a picture. And then he like stands really far back, holds it all the way up with the flash on. So I don't know, like the.
Does he take one and then has to take the cover off the camera? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. He's like the goofy team dad.
Yeah. And then we do this to everybody, but the last one, Sarah Muhausen.
Tall. I don't know.
She's very tall.
Very tall, very quiet, not a talkative person.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking with us, even
Yes.
through all of the craziness. And I apologize, I missed 3/3 of that, or 3/4 of that. I know math. 3/4 of that interview.
That's why I teach math and you do English.
That's probably why I said 3/3, because you taught me how to do math.
Well, you're a Bengal, so we're gonna bash on the Bengals all night long.
We'll get there. But Sarah, very much appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us for a few minutes. Fantastic start to the season so far. A lot of drama so far, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is Sarah Muhausen, a fantastic player for the LCSC Warrior women's team. They will be on the road this weekend, first on Friday night against Multnomah, and then Saturday at Warner Pacific. The next time you can see them over here at the P1FCU Activity Center will be Friday, February 4th, when they take on the College of Idaho at 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot of things happening over the next few days. As we just had stuff with the Hall of Fame for baseball. We're getting ready for that. Also, lots of things getting ready to happen for Golden Throne. As we did talk with Sarah just a couple of minutes ago, it is time to start thinking about playoff sports, as there's lots of things just happening overall. And let me tell you, yesterday, the conversation at school was all about.
I hate today.
What
It ran over my headphone cord. Now it's under my chair.
Oh, dear.
I'm not fixing it. I don't care.
But lots of things going on, and everybody at school, and some of these kids are staying involved. But how about divisional round NFL football? It was crazy to think about what was happening in the NFL this last weekend.
Did something happen?
I think by far must be probably close to the best. And I'm going back a long time. Probably the best weekend I am.
Yeah.
Probably not as old as, Lance. And shout out to our buddy Lance Reiner. He had his birthday the other day.
I want to know what happened with this balloon room.
I'd like to know. He hasn't really talked about it. We booby trapped his office there Sunday night.
Let's go over it. Obviously, 4 games this weekend. Fantastic slate of games in the NFL. Probably the most entertaining 4 games I have ever watched over a weekend. And where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the most controversial game? Do you want to start with the most exciting game?
Let's just go Saturday first game. I mean, that's probably the best way to go.
So let's start. All right. Cincinnati Bengals get the big win against the Tennessee Titans, 19-16. And something we never see in the playoffs, and we definitely didn't see the rest of the weekend. Game-winning field goal with no time left. It did not happen the whole rest of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. This is the only thing I'm going to say about this game. If my son, who has claimed the Cincinnati Bengals as his team, and my daughter Addie, who is 4 and does everything that my son does, and she has also claimed the Bengals as her team, if they both get to see their team in the Super Bowl before I get to see the Jets, I mean, I know, I get it, it's the Jets, but I made fun of him for picking a terrible team too. And here he is, 1 game away from seeing Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. I might just have to quit football.
I don't see that happening. There's no way you quit football. No, hey, listen, I think the big thing for this one is I'm just wondering how much.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments here, and everyone is so excited for Denny Grubb, who is hanging out in the background right now waiting. We got a lot of people asking where Denny is. He's here. He's getting ready. He's got his Orioles hat on, which it says a P word on it. When is the last? Is that the last time they actually made the postseason?
Oh, I'll let you know.
All right.
He's back there doing calisthenics, man.
He's getting ready to go. So yeah, Denny is in studio. We'll have him on around the 7 o'clock hour once we get through our football chat. He is so excited. He came in with a book of things. I've been told he talked to Danner as well, and he had an 8-page speech ready. So
listen, I watched his Hall of Fame speech. That when he got elected into the Hall of Fame here and he talked about rooms, and that's where I'm excited to go, is what the house rooms look like growing up, with the kids and what he had to do to move things around just to keep records back then when they had to carbon copy everything, and it'll be exciting.
We'll have some fun.
No, I think for me in that Cincinnati Tennessee game, it has to be, was it wrong of them to bring back Derrick Henry too early? Do you think maybe they tried to game plan too much for him? Because it just looked like he wasn't the same power rusher that he is.
Well, obviously he's not the Derrick Henry we saw at the beginning of the season. He was not 100% by any means, but without Derrick Henry there, does Tannehill throw 7 interceptions?
Yeah, no kidding.
And Tannehill just had a terrible game. And I know a lot of people are bashing on him. One of the interceptions, definitely not his fault, kind of forced it in there. That last interception of the game, I thought was a decent pass, maybe not the best decision, but his receiver just couldn't come down with it, ends up tipping it up to the defender, ends up letting Cincinnati hit that field goal to win the game. But mine is more on Joe Burrow. And, it just shows you how important it is to hit that quarterback right and then be patient with that quarterback, because Joe Burrow was not that great his rookie season. I mean, for a rookie, he was pretty good, but he was making a lot of mistakes. And if you put him in the wrong market or with a bad team around him, those struggles everyone's going to bash on, and then he gets in his head and he struggles even more. Instead, they were patient with him, comes back the next year, has the injury issues, and isn't able to finish the season. And now here, 3rd season, just flourishing. And the fact that he now might be part of that group that in a year or two we're going Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Those are your elite 3. It could be like we were talking Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Joe Burrow could be that 3rd. And the fact that we're seeing the growth of this kid, and the fact that he looks like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone, and that's all I ever see as far as gifts go after every single game, and I can't get over it. It's fantastic. This team is so much fun to root for. Unfortunately, it's going to be difficult to think that they're going to win on Sunday against a powerhouse like the Chiefs, but we'll get to our predictions here shortly. But they're just a fun team to watch, and they're so young. And the fact that you have Burrow and Chase, by the way, one last thing, and I want to get your take on it too. And I want to go back and watch our draft coverage when we watched the first round. I know I was upset with Cincinnati for not taking Penei Sewell and not protecting Burrow and instead getting Jamar Chase. I feel like an idiot, and I think everyone else should, because we all just knew that Cincinnati had to get Sewell to protect Burrow. And yes, he gets sacked 9 times in this game. But what a difference maker Chase is.
I think that's a big thing, and it makes you wonder how much did Burrow talk with management about getting Chase, because Chase and him played together at LSU. I mean, there was chemistry there. I'm just wondering if he went to coach and said, "Listen, let's just draft the guy. Yeah, we can work with the line we've got, but they're proven right now to be probably the top. I'm gonna rephrase this. Probably the top 5, one of the top 5 receiving duos of the year.
Yeah, top 5.
Easy top 5. Yeah, easy top 5, if not top 3.
It's borderline top 3, I think.
Yeah,
it depends on a couple others, but yeah, definitely. And you got to feel possibly the best one in the next 5 years.
Yeah, probably hands down.
Then the second game on Saturday, very low-scoring game, very cold, this felt like the most playoffy game of the 4, where you're out there in Lambeau. It's extremely cold out there. Then you get the snow flurries late. The ground gets completely slippery. Neither offense able to get anything going after the Packers scored on that opening drive. Then special teams completely blows up in Green Bay's face, which you ask a lot of Packer fans, they were just waiting for this day to come. Just a wild game for a game that finished 13-10. This was I think this was my second favorite game of the weekend as far as entertainment wise. And there was just no offense, but you knew it was going to take that one play to change everything. And the block punt was.
Yeah, 100%. The block punt was the key turnaround. It made me wonder, as much as the pressures that's been on Jimmy G, did he have to perform to basically get him a spot somewhere else after the next year?
He's getting a spot
where he's basically interviewing, and that's the way I felt during that game. And so for him to play the way he did in the second half, I think was a lot better than the way he came out in the first half.
And people have to remember with Jimmy G, yes, is he a elite quarterback? Absolutely not. But he's playing with a bum shoulder and a broken finger. Like, we have talked about Aaron Rodgers' broken toe on this show every single week. Nobody's talking about the fact that Garoppolo has tape all over his hand before he has to play. And now he's out there in below freezing temperatures at Lambeau Field trying to grip a ball that's slick. Yes, it was not fantastic by any means. He made some terrible decisions. His out throws were behind every receiver. He should have been picked off 3 or 4 more times than he was. But he's banged up. And that's just the style of play they do. Is hopefully he doesn't make mistakes. We're going to run the ball. We're going to work on the defense. And having Kittle on the inside has been absolutely fantastic for them. And I believe Robert Taylor might be correct, which I hate saying. It hurts my stomach saying Robert Taylor.
Do you have to agree with him?
Yeah.
I mean, I would too.
Then we go to Sunday, and a game that looked like a blowout, then wasn't a blowout, was the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the Rams hold on 30-27. And how many weird emotions did we have in that game? So, did you have flashbacks of Atlanta when it was 27-3?
I did.
Me too.
And for them to start talking about it right there.
And the fact that everyone online, except for Robert Taylor, I give him straight credit of we can't count Tom Brady out. But everyone else is like, oh, it's so great to see Brady leave. And, like, guys, we've been here before. Then Tampa Bay comes all the way back, ties it up on Leonard Fournette's touchdown. I told you he was going to be a big difference maker. But they give Stafford too much time. For whatever reason, they decide to blitz and go one-on-one on Kupp. And Kupp was the hero in that game, 183 yards there. Had that wide open touchdown earlier in the game, but sets up the game-winning field goal, and the Rams move on. Your thoughts on this game?
I love watching Cooper Kupp play. It's going to be unbelievable. I think where I got directed a little bit more of is you started seeing Tom make his way back, and you saw him getting back into this game. But I think the biggest thing that I think then changed the turn again was his penalty. And the more I went
that was
back,
still early on.
But you could see the way he was frustrated with that because of the pressure coming from Von Miller, coming from Aaron Donald.
By the way, yes, first unsportsmanlike penalty in Tom Brady's career. He was 100% correct with being upset with the referee. Brady has gotten away with some iffy calls as far as roughing the passer. Go back and watch that play. Miller launches himself like a missile. The exact kind of play that the NFL wants out of the league. Launched with his helmet right into Brady's face mask. Right? Brady has gotten away with some things where people will touch his knee pad and he'll get the penalty. And that was not one of them. That should have been a flag.
Yeah, I don't know. I just seeing the way he chatted right in with Hockey and trying to get he was ticked, but
he deserved the flag.
I think for me in this game, besides that, is asking Cam Akers to hold on to the ball. Twice he put the ball down and just.
You're talking if they brought Derrick Henry back too soon. Did they bring Cam Akers back too soon?
You know,
I mean, obviously, his torn ACL is not the reason why he cannot hold on to a football, but without all that practice, maybe he just isn't accustomed to holding a football right now. Very interesting. So we have Denny Grubb in the background. I'm curious if he's going to get this trivia question. But I have a trivia question for you, Robert, since you get me at the end of the show every single week.
I'm going to tell you, your question this week is easy. I did way easy. I felt.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I can't remember if because you were off doing the singles bowling when I asked this question to a couple of bowlers. So Aaron Rodgers is out of the playoffs. Tom Brady's out of the playoffs. Can you name the 4 starting quarterbacks on the 4 teams the last time that Brady and Rodgers both missed the conference championship games?
Jeez. Let's see.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I was just saying it's probably been a long while. Give me probably Ben Roethlisberger. No. I was going back to like Seattle and
no, he didn't make it.
Pittsburgh
he didn't make it the next year. Pittsburgh was there 2010.
Okay, so you're telling me it's 2011.
Telling you it's 2009. If that helps.
Let's see. Breeze was 2000.
I got Denny back here thinking too, and that's what I like.
Breeze was 2000. Breeze was 2008, I think, if I remember right. Drew Brees was 2008. Boy, that's tough because I would have figured that one.
Got anything?
No, I don't.
In the NFC, it was the New Orleans Saints and the Minnesota Vikings.
So I got one.
So you had Drew Brees against Brett Favre. It was that game where Brett Favre threw the interception late.
Okay.
In the AFC, it was Peyton Manning against the butt fumble himself, Mark Sanchez. You had to know, the only reason I bring up this trivia question was the last time Brady and Rodgers both missed. It was one of the last time the Jets did anything. It was the first of back-to-back AFC championship games for the Jets.
I should have figured you were going that direction.
So, yeah, Jets, Colts, and Vikings, Saints. That was the Colts-Saints Super Bowl where there was a 7-point game and Manning threw the pick 6 to give Drew Brees his only Super Bowl win. So that's the last time that we did not have Brady or Rodgers in the conference championship games. It's been a while, just a little bit. Mark Sanchez is now an analyst. Drew Brees now works for NBC. Peyton Manning has his own show on ESPN2 that nobody watches. And Brett Favre is on a farm somewhere, I think, at this point, right?
Got to be somewhere.
And yet, Tom Brady's still playing for now. Question for you, does Brady retire? Is this it for him?
I don't know. I think, listening to his post-game conference, I think he still wants to play, but there's so much that could happen, especially with the column that I read today about Gronk coming back, whether or not Brady comes back. He still wants to play another year after taking a year off. So
okay. I'm gonna give you 3 scenarios.
Okay.
Tell me the most likely scenario. A, Tom Brady stays with Tampa Bay. B, Aaron Rodgers stays with Green Bay. Or C, Tom Brady retires and Tampa Bay gets Aaron Rodgers.
I think the way the conversation and listening to Aaron Rodgers' interview today on the Pat McAfee show.
We still listen to him talk.
I listened for a few minutes, so I think something might be in the works in Green Bay. I don't see Aaron maybe taking off as easily as everybody thought he was. I think the relationships have gotten a little bit better, but they almost act like it's a package deal with him and Devontae Adams.
If Devontae Adams doesn't come back, Aaron Rodgers is not coming back either.
So it raises the question: do they throw franchise tags on one of those gentlemen to keep them there. So I think it's going to come down to conversations and talking and listening to them talk today.
Now,
Rogers kept talking about
Rogers
having a good relationship with Brian, the GM there. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but the relationship has gotten better. So.
Rogers has one more year, right? He's not a free agent.
He's got one more.
Adams is a free agent. All right, so that's it for the playoffs. Nothing else happened. No other games happened at all. Just because Robert Taylor's listening, we just won't talk about the Bills Chiefs.
No, we don't have.
That wasn't a good game, was it?
We were bowling, so it was hard for me to try to pay.
We stopped.
We
were in our playoff matchup, focused on bowling, and then almost completely stopped bowling. At least when plays were on. When they had timeouts, then we rushed up there and bowled. I'm still trying to decide. For anybody that missed it, I don't know how you did, and yet you're still watching this show, other than you're here to see Denny Grubb. But Kansas City beats Buffalo 42-36 in a game that was, 26-21 with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, it was just nuts to see those many touchdowns in about 3 minutes, 2 minutes?
2 minutes, and then obviously the overtime.
Yeah.
But in 2 minutes, we saw 4 touchdowns, or 3 touchdowns and a field goal.
So the biggest thing I heard and the takeaway, and it wasn't even 5 minutes after the game was over, we're still bowling. And people were already saying, and I saw it on Twitter, and even one person sitting there, and one of our friends sitting behind us bowling, says they've got to change that. They've got to change the overtime. They got to change the overtime. I know. But he did bring up a good scenario. Okay, so hear me out. We know that college is 25 yards.
I'm done. I'm out.
No.
I'm out.
No.
You cannot. No, I am with Greeny. I am with Mike Greenberg on this. You can bring up better college scenarios. The moment you say college, anything.
I'm just using their example. Their example right now, they start the ball at the 25-yard line, and then, they have the opportunity to score, yada, yada. Yeah. He made a good point. And Patrick Mahomes was able to move the ball quite well down the field in that time.
Both defenses were gassed.
Right. So move it back to the 50-yard. Give them at least one each, and you got to go 50 yards.
Absolutely not.
That was his mindset behind it.
One, Buffalo, Kansas City would still be playing today. 2, you completely eliminate special teams out of this scenario. So Green Bay completely gets a pass for having a terrible special teams because they don't have to worry about it anymore. And 3, you played 60 minutes of football. You don't want it to come down to a coin toss. Don't end up in a tie. Right. If it does come down to that coin toss and you lose that coin toss, stop somebody. Defense is part of football. If you can't stop anybody, you don't deserve to win a playoff game anyways. So while, yes, would we all like to see just a full overtime get played? That's what I think. Let's just play. Okay, overtime's in. 15 minutes go.
And if you're still tied, 15, yeah.
If you're still tied after those 15 minutes, in the regular season, it's a tie. In the playoffs, you play a second overtime.
Your buddy Robert Taylor's really he's agreeing with you so much tonight. I kind of agree, but I think the idea of letting them play another quarter. Do you do it? Do you do it a full 15 minutes?
Yeah, I would do a full 15. Or if you don't want it to come down to a coin toss, here's my other scenario for you. The team that was leading last gets the ball first. No coin toss. So in this case, Kansas City tied the game late.
Right.
Buffalo gets the ball first.
Okay.
In overtime. Because Kansas City did everything they could to push it to overtime. Now they have to stop Buffalo to get the ball back.
Yeah. I mean.
And you still have to score a touchdown on that first drive because I hate the fact that before you don't have to go 30 yards, kick a field goal and win it. Right. But if you want to get rid of the coin toss, whoever had the lead last gets the ball first. I would rather in the playoffs, you just get another full 15. Like the referee said before the coin toss. Oh, we're playing a whole new game.
That's what it was. I mean, yeah. But you've got two of the best offenses to play. And we were hard on Buffalo and Kansas City multiple times this year because of the inconsistent play. But the cream raised to the top here over the last few weeks, and I think that what happened, and they just are starting to run out of gas.
Like Robert Taylor said in our comments, it didn't come down to a coin toss. It came down to Buffalo not being able to stop a field goal in 13 seconds. 13 seconds that drive took.
Right.
My favorite stat that I've heard, especially because I had to listen to Stephen A. Smith after Dallas's loss. Remember, Dallas had 14 seconds. It couldn't even get the one playoff.
Okay, so I have to agree. So what about this scenario? I like what Megan's bringing up. Megan Grubb, listen, we get in a lot of these Grubb family things. But each of them kick a field goal until one misses.
No.
But then you're pushing. That's
not playing football anymore.
Right, you're putting all the pressure on one guy. And I don't like that.
You're putting it on the one guy that doesn't even feel like part of the team half the time.
And didn't he kick 2 balls out of bounds that night too?
No, that was.
Or was that the other
Tampa
game?
Bay.
That was Tampa Bay game.
That's right. Because the fans take turns like hockey. I don't like the shootout either. I really don't, and that's why I don't think they do that in playoff hockey. They just keep playing, but they don't want ties anymore.
Yeah, I like that one. Make everybody a kicker.
The one thing I will say about kickers, I'm hoping it's back for this year's skills challenge. I miss tic-tac-kick or kick-tac-toe or whatever they called it, where they were kicking field goals and they're trying to hit different segments in there.
There you go.
That's what I want to see. No hockey talk. Hey,
Travis Kelce.
I just talked to the hockey coach over here at the LC ring. So we got lots of hockey.
I like that idea.
We're going to have him on the show soon, I think.
Take Travis Kelce and make him kick a field goal.
Listen, all right, we got to move on, or this show is going to have overtime. I mean, it might anyway.
It is anyway.
So let's get to predictions. I know you just put on your player of the week. We don't have time. We got 8 minutes before we got Denny on here. I need conference championship picks.
All right.
Cincinnati at Kansas City. What is that, a noon kickoff time? Does that sound right?
Yep, 3 o'clock.
Kansas City is a 7-point favorite. For one, that seems high.
And that's as of this afternoon. So, yeah. I mean, that's still a lot can change.
It does seem a little high, but with how crazy these offenses could go, they could definitely go nuts at the end. I'm taking Kansas City.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think both of them, but I don't know. Something's just gut telling me you've got to go with the guys that have been extremely hot here lately. And
Denny, you're going to get snubbed for cracking hockey over here.
But I think that's the biggest thing. I think I'm going to take Cincinnati. I just like the matchup right now. Mixon played really well. If Chase and Burrow can get on the page early against that defense, I think they've got a chance. It's going to be a slim one, but I'm going to go the underdogs on this one.
It'll be interesting. It would be crazy. Then the nightcap, San Francisco at the LA Rams. Right now the Rams are a 3.5-point favorite. That's around a 3:30 kickoff time. Listen, I was 13 seconds away from having my preseason Super Bowl pick still be alive with 1 round to go, and Kansas City blew it for me. But that's not even why I'm picking this team. San Francisco owns the Rams. Kyle Shanahan owns. I'm blanking on the Rams coach right now. I can see him in my face. McVay, thank you. He owns him. 6 straight wins for the 49ers. And while everyone was like shrugging off, the 49ers, yes, Aaron Rodgers 0-3 lifetime in the playoffs against the 49ers. That doesn't count. 6 straight wins against a divisional opponent. They match up perfectly with the Rams. I know Stafford's playing extremely well, but I'm taking the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And again, I agree with Robert Taylor. We're going to get a rematch of the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Chiefs and 49ers. I'm excited just to see these 4 teams in there, but I'm going to lean. I'm going to lean. I hate to say it, but I'm leaning that way. Give me Stafford, give me Kupp. I mean, this is why LA brought them in to get them to the playoff. Stafford has won now 2 playoff games, and Cooper Kupp has just been the stud right now. He's like they were saying. He had the triple crown for the receivers. I mean, he just was that good this year. He's so good.
The big thing for me, Akers has got to hold on to the ball. Yep. As long as Akers holds on to the ball, I think Aaron Donald and Von Miller, that relationship is getting so much better, getting the pressure on the quarterback. That's going to be a lot to handle for Jimmy G. So as much as I love your stat of 6-0, I think Sean McVay finds a way to win this one, and it's going to be the Rams and the Bengals.
I'm just hoping for 2 games that are on par with the 4 games we just saw this weekend, because that was so much fun.
Listen, my playoff record looks pretty darn good right now.
Yeah.
I'm 9-1.
Congratulations.
9-1.
That's great. What was the Packers record before they did that? All right. All right, we got 4 minutes before we get Denny Grubb on here, so hit the NFL news extremely quick. So I'm just going to ask you one quick question here.
Okay.
I just want a quick answer. Sean Payton retiring from the New Orleans Saints. How fast does Dallas fire Mike McCarthy before they sign him?
I don't see him taking a year off. I think he takes a year off.
Yeah,
I really do. I love what Sean Payton did there for 16 years, but I think he takes a year off before he decides what he's going to do.
So we had the Manning cast, right?
Right.
That's the ESPN thing. Does the NBC do the Sean Payton Drew Brees cast
on Peacock
for on Peacock TV for Sunday Night Football for 1 year, and then we get Sean Payton on the Dallas Cowboys? Because that's happening.
Yeah, I can see him in the next few years coaching again, but it'll be interesting. But I think he takes a year off just to recoup and regather himself. So
okay, what happens for Sean Payton to the Dallas Cowboys? Or Antonio Brown to your Baltimore Ravens? I wanted to talk about this so bad.
No, let's move on. AB wants to come and play with Hollywood and Lamar. So, unfortunately, I hate saying this. I think he's going to sign. I don't want him to, but I guess, if Mike Mitchell can keep him on Pittsburgh, for all those years, I guess I can deal with him for a year.
So 9 coaching vacancies right now: Raiders, Broncos, Jaguars, Dolphins, Bears, Vikings, Giants, Texans, and Saints. What's the best job out there?
For me, I think it's what can. I hate saying this. Give me Minnesota. Well, I mean, who? They got to go up.
Cousins for $41 million?
No, I think they draft a quarterback. I honestly think they draft quarterback this year. Get Dalvin Cook, somebody to play with. Cousins could train his replacement, and he could easily be gone. So I think that one might be interesting. The other one would probably be Denver, but I think Denver needs a quarterback change.
Denver has cap space.
Yes,
so they can
Denver's got a lot of cap space.
They got a good defense. I think Denver is the correct pick. You have the pedigree there as well. All right, you got one more in here?
Well, no, I was going to ask you there, in your opinion, which coach do you think gets placed first?
Flores.
You think Flores?
He should be. Well, excuse me. Or what? I'm blanking on his name now too. The interim coach for the Raiders. Okay. It could be him. I think the Raiders stick with him.
If you were a coach, where would you go and coach? Out of those 9 teams, where would you go?
Miami.
I know where I would go.
I would go to Miami. Actually, that's not true, because it sounds like that front office is horrible, and that's why Brian Flores is now gone, because they want Tua more than they wanted Flores. Honestly, it's probably the Saints. That's a good. I mean, they stuck with Sean Payton for a long time. Now, yes, he completely changed the culture there. I mean, you go back and look. What the Saints won 1 playoff game ever before Payton got there. So maybe that's why he earned his long-term deal, and now maybe being the coach coming in after Sean Payton, your leash is a little bit shorter. But honestly, if I'm a coach and you can say I can take a job at any of the 32 teams in the NFL, it's Pittsburgh, because they don't fire a coach ever, ever.
Oh, Mike Tomlin. When is he going to get on?
Tomlin keeps making the playoffs, and he doesn't finish with losing records. But God, he's been around forever. And then the coach, Cowher, was before him, and he was around for 15, 20 years. And Noel before him. And
did you see that John Harbaugh is getting an extension? They're working on an extension. After everybody was saying he's going to get let go if everything falls apart, which it did in Baltimore. But now they're still going to sign him for an extension.
Yeah. And then they're going to bring in Antonio Brown, and then you're going to be complaining all season long, and I'm going to be here for it. Yeah. Fantastic. All right, let's get to the main event, because everyone is blowing up over here on StreamYard. So excited for this. We have been trying to get Denny on this show several times. We had him set once, and then he got under the weather, so we weren't able to do it. We figured what a better time to do it. The Golden Throne, baseball is about to get going. LC basketball is wrapping up their season. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the passing of Ed Chef as well. But Denny, man, we gotta get you on here. I gotta make sure I have the right microphone because I keep
Number
switching.
4.
Number 4. Let's put number 4 back on the court. Denny, man, what's happening?
I about fell off my chair there.
Now Sarah didn't have an issue with the chair.
She had the issue with me almost hitting her with the microphone.
Well, I've been taking notes. Hey, first of all, thanks for having me. I told Mike Tatko today I ran out of excuses. I better go down there and do this.
Yeah, Tatko is listening right now.
They're going to keep bugging me, but no,
He's been on twice now. You got to catch up.
Mike Tatko did say he is picking you over Jeopardy, so this is a huge moment.
He's no good at Jeopardy anyway, I would think, but he can't Google fast enough to find the answer.
Listen, you've got everybody blowing it up. Alicia, our SID, I mean, bring on the stat man. Nothing but props for the stat man here.
Well, I was listening. I took some notes.
Let's hear it. I want to hear what Danny thinks of
because
all this
usually
stuff
I'm usually blogging or whatever you do on your little page here.
Yeah.
And Muhausen, I met her out in the hall, and I told her, I don't know, you guys, I don't know if you mentioned those 2 clutch free throws that she hit at the end of that game. 2.6 seconds to go.
I don't know, Robert. Did you mention it while I was figuring out microphones for 20 minutes?
But I said, how did you do that? I said, I was at home. I couldn't even take a drink of water, much less try to shoot a free throw. But she goes, I'll tell you the truth. I was kind of scared too, but I thought, well, you didn't look like it. But she has really improved. And I got to tell the truth. I talked to, Brian Danner almost every day or text him. And when she was here as a freshman, I watched her play, and I kept saying to Danner, is she ever going to, and he was positive the whole way. And that's just a story, a player that another one that Coach Orr can take and turn around and just make good. I mean, if that's the word you want to use, but she's having a great year. She's moving up. You were talking about block shots. And she's moving up on the career, and she hardly played at all as a freshman. But what else is it? Listening to you guys reminds me of when I was probably 6th grade to 10th grade. I had a good friend that we would talk the same thing. I was Baltimore. I'll explain the hat here. It's a big hat, but my head's so big I can't get it to fit.
Oh, where's that? Somebody said that.
Well,
exact
it's
thing.
probably my brother. But I'm telling you, this is a regular size hat, and I got the straps off of it.
Oh yeah, Wayne Grubb.
My hair's just
was talking about we needed a bigger set of headphones.
But he was a Boston guy, my buddy, and I was a Baltimore guy. But this was the last time. I don't know what you can see online, but 2016 when the Orioles were in the playoffs.
I'd make fun of you, but again, it's been 2010 since my Jets.
Okay, and this is the worst picture I can bring. Orioles versus Blue Jays. They were in a wild card game, 1-game playoff, which I don't like, but Edwin Encarnacion or whatever. I can say it a little different after he hit the 3-run homer. He hit a 3-run homer to send Baltimore home, and they haven't been to the postseason since. So the hat, pretty nice, brand new looking hat. I was waiting to bring it out of storage until they made the playoffs again, but might be a while. But
before we get into all the other stuff, do you think we get baseball on time this year? I know the talks today seemed slight positive.
Who's going to give? I mean, they make so much money now, both sides.
Yes.
The salaries and the income. It's going to be tough. I mean, even in the next 2 weeks, if they say it's a go, you got to rush into spring training coming up. But if I had to bet money, and I do all the time and lose it, I would say it's going to be delayed at the least.
Yeah, I'd say at least.
Because they're not letting out. Somebody wants something big, and they're not letting it.
It seems like ownership is dead set on expanding the playoffs more.
Yeah.
And the thing I read today was their meeting that happened earlier today was the owners are now saying that extra round of playoffs that would be created, 60% of the gate would go to the players. So they're like, they're trying to get anything to get more teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I hate it so much.
If you could put 5 of the 6 AL East teams in, put that in your contract, and Baltimore would only have to beat 1 to get in. But
when's the last time they did that? 2016, I think.
But what else would I made it before we get into whatever I do. The overtime, NFL.
Yes.
I'd like to see both teams touch the ball. And the only way I can think of for that to be, if they do score a touch, you have to go for 2. If you score a touchdown first, you got to go for 2. The other team gets, obviously they know they can't go for a field goal. And I think that's the mentality of the people that made the rule was, if you get the ball after the team scores, you got to get a touchdown, well, it's just going to be bombs away. So I can see that mentality of, hey, you got to stop them or get a field goal if you want the ball. But I'd like to see.
So you're saying that the second team after the first team?
No, I think you have to go for 2 in overtime. You have to go for 2 if you score a touchdown. I don't know how much of a difference that would make or not, but the other thing, they were great games this weekend, and the field goal kickers. I just shake my head. My field goal story, and most of my family will tell this. I won a prize when I was working to come kick a field goal at a Bengal football game for a brand new pickup. You had to make one from the 15, from the 25, and from the 35. And my nephew, Shane, who was the ASB president at Lewiston High School, he was so proud of me. And he went out and he held the ball for me. And there were family there, probably the same ones who are popping off online here. And I was ready to walk home with whatever year it was, brand new pickup. And from the 15-yard line, I did not get the ball in the air. I topped it, and it rambled about 6 feet to the right. And, my head's down. I looked down to my nephew to start walking up the field. And, I mean, he's gone. He's hit the sidelines, and he doesn't know me anymore. But I'm just amazed at field goal kickers. Mm-hmm. Those guys are booting it. You said start the ball at the 50 in overtime. They only need to make about, 5 yards anymore. But anyway, I just made notes while you guys were talking. My buddy and I used to do that all the time. But usually instead of like you guys just sign off, we would end up, throwing rocks at each other's heads or something.
Oh, you don't know what happens when we leave. It was far safer this winter when we were doing it from each other's houses. So then we could just we're done, and you hit the X button and you move on. But we walk out of here and it is scary going to our cars.
I do like the Manning boys on ESPN 2 or whatever that is. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of my brother and I. I think we would be doing kind of the same type of thing. And I kind of discovered them halfway through the season. That was more entertaining to me than listening to the broadcast. But anyway, I thought that was kind of neat.
By the way, Megan and Wayne are having a blast with your field goal story. And Megan says, Pickle says hi.
Pickle is my only grandchild, 4-legged Dotson, wiener dog. And I don't know if we have any more on the ways, but not that I know of or expect in the future. But my weekend picks, Cincinnati and the Rams. And I'm about 20% on picks, so you can take that.
There you go. I wanted to be with you.
I'm 9-1 in the postseason, and I'm taking Cincinnati, LA.
I guarantee you we go 1-1.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't know if they can see this shirt, but I've won money. You go up to Brainiacs, and tell them try to figure this out.
I've seen that shirt many times, and I've been trying to find one online to buy, and I just haven't.
My daughter got this for me, and
most people ask you, it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does.
I was at supper the other day with
any baseball fan knows.
Yeah.
6 + 4 + 3 = 2 is what his shirt says.
There you go.
That
6,
is
4,
the
3.
old double play.
Yeah. So anyway, that's from my notes from listening to you guys, but I thought that was interesting talk.
Statman's already taken notes just from us.
Remember when I told you, I was like, I'm going to just set this interview at 30 minutes, but I guarantee you we're not getting to our sports draft. It's not happening because I already want to know because this is so much fun already. Just picking your brain on normal sports. We'll see when we get to the LC stuff. But I just want to get to this topic now because I want to get Denny's take on it here. I'm not happy. Hall of Fame selection came out today. David Ortiz is the only player to get elected to the Hall of Fame. It's his first time on the ballot. Barry Bonds finishes the closest as far as votes. This was his last year on the ballot. Roger Clemens was third, also his last year. My only question now is, so just because Ortiz was nice to the media, his steroid allegations don't mean anything? He was in the same steroid allegations as Alex Rodriguez. Are we forgetting this?
Yeah.
Is it just because he's such a nice guy and Barry Bonds is a jerk? Is where we're at now?
Well, the worst part of it, he's a Red Sox. I mean, that's how much worse can it get to put a Red Sox in the Hall of Fame? But I thought maybe Todd Helton and Billy Wagner would get more. They're moving up every year. I just read it before I came down here. They're over 50% now, but and they've got numbers. But yeah, Ortiz, how he slipped through the PED thing. You know, I was happy to see A-Rod got as low as he did, and I hope he keeps going down, because I think he only took this sportscaster's job to maybe enhance his Hall of Fame chances.
Because you saw that with Ortiz. You saw that. It's been a lot of players that
and he
you keep your face out there.
drives you nuts listening to him on, you know. Anyway, but
I'm a Yankee fan, and yes, it's 100% true. I can't stand it.
Okay.
But no, it's one of those. I've always said I don't care if they took steroids or not, as far as the Hall of Fame, their history. I mean, yeah, if you want to keep the integrity stuff in there, obviously they did that with Pete Rose, then sure. Like, I totally get it, but then you can't turn around and say, oh, David Ortiz, yes, absolutely. And then there's nobody that you're going to put in from the late 90s and early 2000s that don't have steroid allegations. Yeah. But the problem was with him and Hahn and still leaving them on the ballot, like, I wish Major League Baseball would have took a stand either way. Either, yes, they're on the ballot and we're not going to worry about the steroids, their history, they should be in, or they took steroids, they're not on the ballot, because there's players like Todd Helton, who I think is that perfect fringe Hall of Famer. He put up some fantastic numbers, but if you ask anybody who was the top 10 players from 2000 to 2010, Todd Helton just doesn't hit that list, though statistically he is. Yeah. But I'm very curious what they do next year. So now that Bonds and Clemens and Sosa are off the ballot completely, that opens up a lot of these ballots for a lot of people that are going, no, I'm voting for these guys to get in. Now maybe we see Helton take that jump. Scott Rowland, I think, will get in next year, which he's with me as far as Helton. He's a fringe player for me, but I think he gets in next year.
Well, I'm a Pete Rose guy, and the reason for that is he didn't do anything. His numbers are his numbers. Yeah. He didn't take anything to improve them. He's a hoot to listen to on interviews, because he's just, you know, as worldly as can be, but he lays it right out there, except for the truth a lot of the time. But I think his numbers are his numbers. And you watch, you know, these guys these days should watch some old Pete Rose footage. And just watch how the guy, you guys saw him play. Well, you know,
I've seen YouTube clips. I wasn't alive.
I caught the end of his career. I got to watch the end of his career.
And hustled everywhere. That's why he was Mr. Hustle. But you don't get that many hits by, you know, on steroids or something. You still got to swing the bat and see the ball. But he, you know, he was never accused of that. And I don't, you know, we don't know. They never really have told us the inside scoop. Did he make moves as a manager to help or hinder his team? That doesn't matter. He's not going into the Hall of Fame as a manager.
Right.
But
exactly right.
In my lifetime, Pete Rose was the guy. So the big red machine.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get in, but it's going to take a lot to do. So, all right, let's just give, for those of us, the others that are listening, let's just talk about you for a minute. The man, and we'll just go through a few things. First of all, I met you 30 years ago. Easy. You used to be the mailman at go by my parents' house. So that's how I met Denny many years ago. 15. Okay. They're over there, and they're still there, and so they're probably listening. So, but let's talk about who Denny is. Denny, first of all, the bad thing. You're Lewiston grad, 1977. Lewiston grad there too.
And if I have anybody listening that went, I tell this, and then all the real athletes get upset. But out of my class, I was the only one to get 4 letters in 4 sports. They're like, he did not. I go, yeah, I did. And I did make the varsity in baseball 2 years and basketball 1 year. But I got a letter in cross country when I was a sophomore. First year they had cross country, and all you had to do was finish to get a letter. And because I'm like, hey, that's up my alley right there. And I got 3 letters in football for keeping stats. So I'm like, they're like, you didn't get 4 letters. Well, yeah, they're right here. I got this big letterman's jacket, but Do they even do that anymore?
And they're
Oh, I've
starting to
seen
bring
them.
some of it back because we've talked about it at the junior high. We were talking about bringing back the jackets and all that, and so I know they're still giving out the letters. I don't know how many are still getting.
Yeah,
them, so.
77 bingo.
Yeah.
Only two things I lettered in was tennis and drama. I got 4 years of.
You got a letter in drama.
4
How did
years.
you get a letter in drama?
I got a thing.
I got a letter in tennis.
Yeah, I lettered in tennis and I lettered all 4 years.
He had the best stage entrance or something.
Yeah.
I lettered in drama. I wasn't even gonna play that year. I just did the class and built the sets.
That's like my cross country letter just finished. In fact, the buddy I was telling you about that I fought with all the time, he was on there too. There was only 7 of us, and 5 of you got, points or whatever, however you score. I don't know if I ever figured it out cross country, but we used to run up where the MSB Blue Shield offices are. That was a vacant field, and that was our cross country course. But our first ever, I'm not here for cross country, but it's kind of funny. Our first ever meet, Bengals first ever meet, we went to Connell, Washington. There were 7 of us, and I think there was Crystal Marvin. She was a senior girl on there. And the first in Connell, there was a couple of hundred runners, but the first corner was around a big telephone pole, and then you went up a hill. And we didn't figure it out. We were on the inside, and we got squished. But we, to this day, I don't know if my buddy has his, but I still have. They give you a number when you finish. I came in, I still got 230, and I'm like, yeah, 230, and that's all it took to letter, just survive, and you had to be in 3 or 4 meets, but that wasn't my deal.
So your big deal, and we're going to talk about this, and the reason, and if you're interested, and I'll try to post the link. I might even post the video because I dove a little bit more. I'm going to. I dove a little bit farther back in, and we're good friends with Mike Tacko. All of us, we all know Mike, and Mike was the one that introduced you and presented you into 2013 Lewis Clark State College Athletic Hall of Fame, and he talked about a few of those stories, and one of them, and he just messages us here a second ago, and he says, you should tell the Dwight Church pitching story. And I loved it. I listened to him tell that story for us. Really quick.
In my mind, I'm trying to clean up a few things.
I appreciate it.
You got a 5-second delay. I played for Dwight 2 years on varsity, and this was Legion ball, and we were playing in Yakima. And I had a big. My head is big naturally, but I had a huge head from a write-up that day. Kevin Matthews, who played here at the college, was pitching for Yakima, and I was pitching for the Twins, and we were both undefeated, like 6-0, 7-0. And so I was going to go out there and ram it down and take it to the Beatles, and because they were the team to beat in Legion around here. And did pretty good. First 2 innings, up and down, maybe got a guy on the base, and, game's tied 0-0. And the story gets better as I go on. I think I add things, but 3rd inning comes, I can't get anybody out. They've got 4 or 5 runs in. They got guys on base. And here comes Dwight, his walk. I like to do Dwight's walk. And I don't know if any of you have ever been Dwight Church. And if you've ever, he's a different guy when he comes out to the mound to talk to you. First time was pretty calm. And he says he came out, and really didn't say much. In fact, really didn't understand him. And I asked my catcher, Gary Kepper, if he understood what Dwight said. He just came out to kind of stop the Beatles from running around the bases. And anyway, as he was walking back to the dugout, I'm mad. I mean, I'm 18. I'm in charge of the world. I'm cocky 18-year-old, and he's about 6 feet away. And I said, Dwight, you got to move those outfielders back. And he did a complete 360 turnaround, or 180, whatever that be. And he came marching back at me, and he puts his finger. Didn't how Dwight was? And he says, "Let me clean this up a little bit. Hey," he says, "those outfielders are straddling the fence now. He can't even get to the ball." And he yanked me out of there. But he was he was a great coach. Loved him, and just a frustrating time. But he made a point that they're not just hitting the ball off the wall; they're hitting them over the wall. The outfielders are straddling the wall now. They can't get back any further. And come on in here in a nice way and sit with me for the rest of the game. But that was the lowest point I ever had pitching. Couldn't get anybody out, and blaming it on my outfielders for not catching balls off the wall and over the wall.
Yeah, and I just see Sam posted. He hope it's archived. I guess what I just put that Hall of Fame speech on the page, so make sure you go and check that out. We'll try to get.
I think it meant more of this show. Yeah, the show is definitely
it is
archived. You can
archived.
check it out on our Facebook page and on YouTube.
Well, if you put the Hall of Fame speech on there, you're going to have a lot of recording space. I think the best line of the night was after I was done. It was kind of based on a 9-inning thing and this and that, and after about 2 days later, there was a baseball game at Harris Field, and Gary Piccone was there, and he came up in the press box. He says, now I know what you've been doing up in that press box for 30 years. You've been writing that speech, he said.
Well, let's talk about you. You came to LC 1977 and was here till 79 when you then went to the Postal Service. But you started things out. You did PA, you did scoreboard, and I love Tatko's line. He says the unofficial student identification director. So
yeah,
in 1977,
sports information director.
Yeah, and so you had a lot of things going. And through all of this, I think the biggest one that I think, besides your Hall of Fame honor, that stands out to me is your Robert E. Smith Award for back in 2011 for your, and it's basically for unselfish promotion of NAIA. I think that's probably one of the biggest awards.
I'm very honored. It's a promotion of NAIA baseball. It's not given to the only ones who have really received it are coaches or administrators, and that at that point I had done the NAIA World Series official scoring. Boy, when did I get that? I suppose I had done it for 20 years or so at that point. But yeah, that's and they just have one of those a year. A couple of local guys have gotten it. Scott McClure, when he was working for the NAIA, he's with the boys club here now. He received it when he was back in the Mideast, and yeah, that was a great honor. I really enjoyed that, and I that's kind of my NAIA thing now is archiving the World Series, updating the record books. I update the coaches' records each year. There's 260 some coaches and in touch with their sports informations. But yeah, there was not an official SID as they call it here. From until about 2000, they hired Mike Tatko again, who got us into the internet world, and then other people, Bert Solberg for a while, John Jordan, my good buddy down in Florida, did it for a while, and each one has taken us to a different level, and now. Alicia has taken us to the highest level I could, with all this video. I don't know how she does it with all this video and stuff on the internet. But yeah, back in '77, we had carbon paper and ink pens and press hard so we could have 3 copies. And that was no copying machines, no laptops or anything like that. So when the game was over, the opposing coach got a copy and our coach got a copy, and I got our chicken scratches, and I had to go home and redo it. So
I even laughed in the speech. They talked about you talk about making copies for a basketball game with Coach Picker and at halftime he goes out where the copy machine is. When they finally get copy machines, is across the parking lot over in the other building. You go get it and bring back copies. By the time Alicia has it right behind us now. And so here you go. It's right here now.
It's a whole different world.
I haven't done a lot of LC like basketball stuff. Did it at the very beginning of the season for one of the tournaments. Like it's all right. We'll be right back. And then before I come back, I've gotten it and I've been able to read it.
Well, even more amazing is the live stats. Mm-hmm. If you can't get the paper, but yeah, Coach Hannon is the one who got me here. He was the athletic director and the basketball coach at the time, and I kept telling him, we need to get a copy or something. And after we used to run across to that smokestack building, and then he finally got one in his office in the old basketball gym. And he said, "Hey, I got you a copy." Oh, great. He goes, "So I expect some copies at halftime." I go, "Okay." I really enjoyed him. And but the thing he didn't tell me was it was a hand-me-down from the library, and it took nickels to make copies, and he never gave me any money. So I run in there at halftime, and I'm like, so I'm going out to the audience or the concession stand with bill trying to get nickels to run this copy machines. And he's like, I thought we had this all down. I got a copier machine for you. I go, yeah, you didn't leave me any nickels. He goes, oh, well, that's how you're on your own on that. I go, oh, thank you.
That's where your $100 went.
Yeah, that was my $100 a month. But we really moved up after that to a fax machine. And
what's funny is Megan just said the same thing. Faxes didn't come out.
Yeah, fax machine. And speaking of internet, I used to have to call in every Sunday. I had a 15-minute window. We called a guy in Seattle who took care of the conference stats, and you read them over the telephone to him. Telephone, not cell phone. Like so-and-so, Eddie LaFall, 22 points, blah, 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 blah. That's the only way you could get information, unless you mailed it, but they wanted to print something out on Monday. So
right.
So you're talking about all your archiving stuff with the World Series, and I'm always happy with my archiving of our bowling league. And like, oh yeah, I do all this stuff. So you have the NAIA. Like, you were sending me stuff for the Avista tournament just about a month ago. You send us stuff for the Golden Throne. You have all the stuff for the Lewis and Clarkson football game as well. What else are you archiving that we don't know about? Because you have a ton. As Alicia says, you just know all.
Well, this doesn't know all. The laptop knows all. I wish I had a better memory to recall all that. But, a lot of that comes from someone saying, has that ever happened before? Or when's the last time? And you're like, has nobody ever kept track of that? And so for the next 2 or 3 hours, you're looking up. The Avista thing I thought was interesting. All that is just keeping track of the team's records. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, it would be nice to compile those, and then you could say Lapway or whatever, first title or something like that. But I have a list here of the things that LCSC sports history, the coaches, their records over the year, the Bengal football rivalry, and now Lewiston Bengal football history records. Been the official scorer for the NAIA since 1984, so all those games, updating the records like that.
So since I was born.
Oh, man. Keeping track of the major leaguers from LC, and but my favorite love after all that is baseball cards and getting cards of players that played here at LC or players that played in the NAIA World Series that made it to the majors. And there's been 100 and some of those, but so I, collecting baseball cards, keeping track of that kind of stuff. But, I'm retired, been retired now. I guess I just passed my 3-year mark. I saw on my Facebook memory the other day. So I have a little bit of time to do that. And then when the weather's better, we go out and my son and I mow some lawns and keep ourselves busy that way.
I had somebody post on, I think it was on your page after I shared that you were going to be on, that somebody used to, when you were a mailman, used to put snacks in your.
No, it was a Coke.
It was Coca-Cola. Yeah, they were talking about.
Yeah,
you
Ryan
were a Diet Coke man.
Ryan Dunn.
Yeah,
he used to run me down sometimes, and I watched him grow up as a kid by Lincoln Middle School, and every time I saw him, he had a different broken arm or broken leg. He was out 4-wheeling and 2-wheeling, but yeah, then he moved over to Linda Vista there, and he would run down and say, "Hey, I got a Coke for you," and yeah. Got really a lot of good people. I worked at the post office for 40 years and had the same route for about 30 years. So really good report. So nothing like it is today, but we don't have time for that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Bert Dahlberg wants to know why you're called the Candyman, or he wants us all to know why you're called the Candyman.
I don't know if you can tell that on the.
Oh, is it one of those stories, Bert? No. Bert works here for LC, and he's trying to get me kicked out of the radio. What's happening?
That one's a hard one to clear up too, other than quickly. There used to be a guy here that handed out candy to people. Mm-hmm. And I was in between games at the World Series, and you don't have a whole lot of breaks, so you do what you got to do in between games. And I was running to the bathroom, I guess, and the restroom, and the guy happened to hand me a bunch of candy. I'm like, I got to. Okay, thanks, I'll take it. So I'm in the bathroom, I'm doing a thing. I'm heading out. I still got this candy that I had sat down on the counter, and I'm carrying it out the door. And this little kid comes in, and I'm like, so I got this candy in my hand. I'm in the bathroom. Kid walks in, and I said, "Hey, you want some candy?" And just as I said that, a couple of people walked in the door, and I'm like, I said, yeah, guy gave it to me, and I'm just wanting to give it away. But the fact they walked in when I'm offering, hey, you want some candy? But that's the Candyman story. And I told that in the press box, and I don't think they quit laughing for the next game and a half.
And Randy and I got to experience our first NAI this year with you and work. And I only worked 2 games, and I think you worked three games. But just to see the organization skills you have up there, and with the people in and out, because even behind me, I was right behind the door of people in and out. How do you keep your mind so straight on what's going on, especially with everybody?
Well, you don't want to get yelled at, because if you're the official scorer, you got to pay attention. But I don't know, I've just done it for so long. I really love doing, making the calls in baseball. I hate no hitters going to the 7th and 8th inning, because I don't want to call. I don't want to break up a no hitter with a bad call or a judgment call. But just doing it so long, paying attention, and a lot of times running the scoreboard too, and you miss one thing on there, just like at a basketball game. Hey, that's 3 fouls, or you didn't start the clock, and you get blamed for stuff like that. But you learn to concentrate. That's a great volunteer group that does all that. There's people you can call on to do anything you want. So yeah, that's amazing. The volunteers at the World Series.
I'm looking forward to doing it again this year.
It's coming up really quick. Baseball starts this week, and then the home games start next month, like early next month.
Yeah.
So we're bringing up LCSC baseball. We were hoping to get you on last week, but our schedules got way out of hand anyways, even to just send a message. And then by the time we finally got it out, it was a little late. But obviously the passing of Ed Sheff, Robert and I could not do that man justice, as I've never met him. We've just watched him from afar as a kid. Obviously, as somebody who's been a part of LC history as well, I just want a story or two about Ed Sheff from you.
Well, we came here about the same time. He came here in 77. I was at Lewiston in 77. And then when I graduated, I came here the November of 77. Intense. I might be the only scorekeeper who was kicked out of a stadium twice by a head coach. That's when I learned how intense he was and how you don't mess around at a baseball game. I was doing a junior banana belt they used to have, and it was for JV teams and community colleges. And coach was, we didn't have a press box at that time. He was sitting by me, and I was running. We had a little scoreboard. All you had was ball strikes and outs and the runs, and doing the PA and stuff. And one of my buddies came walking by, and I was a cocky 18-year-old, kind of like the Dwight story. I think I've grown out of that, maybe not a whole lot, but I said something, and coach was sitting right next to me. He said, we don't put up with that. And I said something back to him, and next thing you know, I'm in my Chevy Vega heading home with the scorebook, and I'm kicked out of the stadium. I'm like, well, I'm keeping the stats and doing the PA, and I'm thinking I'm somebody. But so I learned at that point, very intense. As I said in the article in the Tribune, he put LC baseball on the map. He put LC athletics on the map. Everybody from coast to coast has heard, if they haven't played LC, they played so many different teams from Notre Dame, and then in the Hawaii tournaments all the time, the Cougars all the time. And so they've heard of LC just because of Ed Sheff and his teams. And I also said that I don't think I ever saw an Ed Sheff team take the field where they weren't the favorites. They were the underdogs. You never felt they were ever going to lose. There's no, how are you going to lose? Even to the Huskies, they no-hit Oregon State one time. I'm like, but so we weren't real close. I didn't play for him, and I didn't see him a lot during the season. He's not a stat guy. He was not a stat guy as far as, hey, how's so-and-so hitting. He had his own stat. When I got there, it was called HH and HH percentage. And I don't, you guys keep some stats. Can you tell me what that, that's exactly what I went to him like, what's this HH? And he looked at me like, he had some good words for me. He said hard hits and hard hit percentage. And And I said, oh, I said, is that an official stat? I've never. Yeah. So how do you judge that? And I just quick, you can line out to the shortstop. That's a hard hit. And in his mind, that's a good at bat, no doubt. And it is. And so I kind of dropped that. I couldn't tell what a hard hit was. And he wasn't too happy about that. But he was not a stat guy as far as, hey, how's so-and-so doing? Because he was so intense and into the games. And, I mean, what amazes me was he never, they kept a book in the dugout. But he was so good at remembering what the opposing batters did coming up. And he would catch guys out of order. He was great at catching the other team re-entering the wrong thing. So baseball mind, I think unmatchable. I don't know who would match him, but we had one time they won, and he and I were walking out. I was in the dugout, and we were walking behind home plate. We were going to go walk out of the field. I figured he'd be pretty happy, and he shook his head, and he cussed a little bit, and he wasn't cussing at me, and I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He was looking in the stands, and this really bothered him. The mess that's in the stands, the cups and everything else, and they had played in Japan one time, and he says, you don't see that in Japan. They don't know littering. They don't throw things like that. And that's what he was thinking about after a game, and I'm like, well, okay. And since then, every time I leave the field, they go, us Americans, we're slobs, unbelievable what we do. But yeah, so we weren't close as far as off the field stuff. I maybe had 3 phone calls from him asking for things or one way or another, and I was happy to do it. But baseball mind, unmatchable, just like unbelievable. Just the things you never notice, even when they took infield. You watch teams take infield. First baseman throws it to second, short. Well, they have routines of they practice their double plays. They practice during infield while the pitcher's warming up. Just little things like that, that he put into the player's mind. It's a 24/7 game, 3-hour 24/7 game if you want to cram it that way. But yeah, things that you don't notice until somebody tells you. Yeah, you see what they're doing there. I go, no, what? And the outfielders doing certain things. They each had their guys to warm up with, and so baseball mind unmatchable. I don't know who. Like I said, it was fun watching them beat the Cougars. Somebody put on there, tell the Cougar story. It's just, we had a one-man show as far as sports staff, me, for many years, and the Cougars would come to town, and they would bring radio, and they would bring their sports information guy, and they would bring some guy, I don't even know what he did, and another guy, and they would take over our little press box, and I'm like, I can't wait till the Warriors just slam it down their throats. And they walk home and with their tails between their legs. But that's the only reason my Cougar, my not hatred, but dismay with the Cougar staff is they just, it's fun to be the little guy beating the big guy, I guess. But they weren't really underdogs against the Cougars. But yeah, so as far as Chef, there's a Facebook page. I don't know if you guys are on it with his former players. The stories on there are incredible. What they all end up with. He made me a better man. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Even though you hear the horror stories about, the boxings and running the hill, the boxers and running the hill, how you as a non-player, you're like, how do they put up with that? But it's the same way if you had a hard teacher in school who, you're like, oh, making me do a lot of work, and you come out of there, you've learned something. I don't think I've read a negative thing. They posted some stuff up until this time he fell ill. They had some funny things on there about stuff that he made them do, and I thought to myself, do they not think he reads Facebook? Apparently they don't, because they're putting some stuff on there. But to a man, the tributes that they have on there are just incredible. They, like I said, they wouldn't trade it for the world. Even the things that they made him do, or they thought were not, they didn't want to do at the time. They couldn't figure out why. Took them a while, but in the end, and when they're carrying that World Series trophy, around, and they figured out what the deal is. But
see, I knew you'd do it.
Exactly.
All right, so we haven't. We have 20 minutes left of the show. We haven't even brought up, other than just mentions, but the Golden Throne
is this Friday. What is it? Girls? Is it the girls' game first?
Girls at 6.
Yeah, girls at 6. Boys around 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Yep.
So a later night for me, for sure, because I have to go to Tribune.
Are you going to be sitting at the table? You know, at the radio table or the stat table?
I can be.
I'm just curious. I mean, it's a great night. You know, I get to call this will be my 5th Golden Throne. I get to PA.
Truthfully,
so
I haven't been there
excited.
for a while. The last one I went to was so crowded, and they were turning people away. I thought, well, if there's a grandma or a parent or friend that want, and I'm, they're not getting in because of me, but it's amazing. The girls always play first. They always have. I got my little stat sheet here on that, but people don't know this started in '94. And where did they play it? Where was the first Golden Throne game played?
You sent it to me, and I don't forget.
Clarkson. You don't read the stuff I
It
said?
was at Carson.
Yeah, Kramer Gym.
Yep.
I have a bad memory like you. That's why I write everything down.
That started 2 years after I graduated.
Yeah,
So they finally named it 2 years after.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And one of the people that are currently employed at LC played in that game on the girls' side in the athletic department. That probably gave it away. 1994 for Lewiston.
Was it Brooke?
Yeah, Brooke.
Oh, wow.
Brooke was a member of the Bengals back then. But anyway, it didn't come here till 2000. Was it 2000? You look at
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Or,
activity 2005.
Yeah, it was after I graduated.
Yeah, 2005 was the first time it was held here. Kind of rotated between Kramer and Booth Hall for a while.
How do you feel about, before we get off, how do you feel about Booth Hall?
Well, I want to know what they're going to do with it. Have you heard anything about, there's nothing wrong with it, is there? I mean, as a gym?
I think they still use it side, but the memories of that place.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Like I said, I played bingo. I was on the varsity. I shouldn't say I played. I was on the varsity, but running out of there in that small gym, and there were crowds back then, not kind of like you see today, but I mean, crowds like Lapway Lewiston game the other day. I just I haven't heard if the Boys and Girls Club are going to take over that. Or
I would like to see it still be used.
I would too.
Oh, I mean,
I've always said that when it first got announced that Lewiston was getting a new high school, I was hoping the Civic Theater would just take over the auditorium section.
Yeah.
And just kind of spread that out. I know that building has a lot of issues.
Oh, yeah.
But I haven't heard quite what they're going to do with Booth Hall. Have you checked out the new Lewiston gym yet?
Oh, yeah.
It's so nice.
Really, night and day, especially since going through, going to the old high school and playing there. And I was surprised today. I didn't know, or yesterday I read in the paper, they were thinking about with their, the football field and everything, putting in a baseball field. I thought church field would be sufficient for the high school, but the way they talked yesterday or in today's paper, they were thinking about a baseball field too, which is kind of surprising.
I grew up playing on church field. I mean, that was where we played majors and all the way up through Babe Ruth and everything. And I think the only issue with church field is the parking situation. I know that field behind the right field area for parking, that was not a thing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You always had to park up above the left field hill and then walk all the way down. I just think they're trying to get it more accessible, would be my guess. But I think that's the only issue, I think.
That would be nice. Going away as you guys do to football games and seeing some of these stadiums that they play in, and unbelievable. But it'd be nice to have a really nice football stadium.
I still think the best baseball field I've been to high school-wise was Orfino.
Yeah, I called
Orfino's place was amazing.
I called a game up there one time, and it's
football or baseball.
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 Their baseball
Do they still have the river out in the right field?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And you look down in, and the press box is above you, and then there's that landing, and then you walk down into the.
And the field is like LC levels of taken care of for a little high
Oh,
school
really?
like that. It was really impressive when we went and called a game there a few years ago.
Nice. Yeah, nice. So this has been, it started off. Who got the idea to start this Golden Throne? I'm not real sure, but every year since '94, except for last year, raised over $200,000, and that they didn't start raising money until about the 5th year. Somebody came up with the Spirit Link idea.
Yeah.
And so what was it? 2018, was a record $19,500. So, yeah.
And those that don't know, and I explain this to some of my kids, junior high kids, they ask about it because we talk about it all the time. And they're like, well, how come my ASB card doesn't work? Well, this is how our fundraiser, or this is where our charity comes from. So yes, you're paying $5 to get into the game, but guess what? That money turns around and goes right back out. So, to see over $17,000  2 years ago, it was just crazy to think about how much money that game brought in.
Yeah, man, I missed this game last year.
Oh, it was nuts.
Well, it's a great venue. I don't think there's really a home field advantage. It's in Lewiston, but the Bengals don't play there during regular seasons. So.
And it's very split as far as like the noise goes. Both places pack that gym. It's so loud, and it's so
that's kind of another reason. As you get older, you're like, hey, turn that TV down or whatever. You kind of get the noise kind of gets to you, but you want to make sure that people who want to be there and have reason to be there want to get in can get into the place. But we got a new coach this year, I think.
Yep.
Because I don't know how you say her last name, Carly
Stefanchik. She was Carly Wilson.
It was Carly Wilson.
Went back and played for Lewis.
Yeah, she hasn't.
She started at Lincoln Middle School. I just have to throw that out here every time. She was a Lincoln Lancer to start her career, and then she transferred.
She didn't get to coach last year, even though she was coaching. She didn't get to coach in the Golden Throne. So you got her first year, Debbie Sabota, former Warrior, 9th year. Ulrich is 7th, and Justin Jones is trying to add to his 8 titles, coaching in his 10th year.
So let's look at this. Obviously, a little bias between the two. Maybe a little bias over here with the Lewiston grads. We're okay with it. But have you been able to follow Lewiston Clarkson basketball very much?
And I'll take this opportunity to tell you guys this now. I've listened to you. And I watched the Lewiston Lap. Well, I didn't watch the Lewiston Lap game. Listen to it. But my thought today, after you guys were asking me to come on, was I think you're the next generation. I think back growing up, there was the Gary Wellmans and the Mike Ripleys and the guy named Gene Hamlin that did our games that we listened to as players. And that kind of went into the Jay McCall, Terry Wright, my brother, who kind of was the next generation. And then you have the Mike Tatkos and, of course, the Brian Danner, who's I think is the top dog of them all. But and Jay McCall Danner can do any sport.
The funny thing is, I absolutely love Danner. I love listening to him, and I try to twist the way I do my games from his calls, and I'll listen to him and just type bits and pieces. He doesn't think he can do other sports. Like when McVay got the Lewiston football, he's like, I don't do football. And I listen to him. He's like, you're great. What are you talking about? He's so good.
He is super at anything he does. He sometimes he hits on himself too much. I think he does unnecessarily. But I love the close games when he's calling basketball. I'll be texting in. I'm like, I'm turning this off and going to bed. I can't take it. But he'll say, oh, my kind of game. I love this. And then so you got him and Jay McCall still helps out a little bit. You guys are kind of taking over the reins. So I've listened to you. Listened to that Lewiston Lapway game. I had one of my teammates from 77 texted me when Lewiston lost to Lapway, and he says, that can't happen. I go, well, Lapway's pretty good. I said, I don't know if they're going to lose.
Lapway's the best team in the state.
Yeah,
I don't care what level you talk about.
I don't know if they're going to lose at all this year.
They're playing tonight, and I haven't been able to look at what they're doing. I think it was a 7:30 start, so they're just getting going. Yeah. They're averaging 107.5 points a game the last 2 games.
Yeah, how do you do that in 48 minutes or 40 minutes? 10-minute quarters?
8-minute quarters.
8-minute quarters. 32 minutes you score. College teams can't reach 100 in 40 minutes. So it's but he said that can't happen. I go, well, they're pretty good. So
being there live to watch the Lapway Lewiston game, I understand how it happens because they don't stop.
Yeah.
I was exhausted after that game.
I spun around and looked at him as I was doing PA. I spun around and looked at him, and he sits back, and you just watch him fall back in his seat there. But
it's so happy when they call a timeout. Thank you.
Well, it's neat seeing Wynot, that Jeremiah Wynot, his son. Jeremiah played here at LC. And
you sent me that tidbit during the game.
I don't know how these guys, I say short guys, but these guys are 5'10" and 6. Nobody in my age could dunk.
Mhm.
What is there some kind of super?
Well, you know, and we're really good friends with
Muscles or something?
Eastman. And Zach is a great coach and a motivator. And if you follow him on his Facebook page, he pushes Lapway all the time, and he shows the videos. They go in there, and those boys are working out 2 to 3 times a day, running and just doing stuff. And it's crazy. And these kids are there having a good time doing it, and they want to be there. In case, why not Titus Year Out? Those Ellenwood, those boys, they're bringing that whole flair of Lapway basketball back from the early '80s that I only read about. You know,
Well, they do it so easily.
And the following they have from the community over there, it's so good. Obviously, I mean they traveled really well to the Vista tournament.
They're impressive. It's an impressive program.
But we look at these 2 games. We'll start with the girls' game because it's first. Honestly, I don't know where this game goes because Lewiston used to be all Katie Wessels,
right?
And working inside, they've tried to get a couple of the other girls involved, and it's made their offense slightly better. But then they played Post Falls this week and scored like 24 points, and it was just completely off and nothing. I mean, talking to Carly after the game, you could kind of just hear the frustration. It's like it's there, but it's just not quite fully clicking yet. And now the season's almost over. There's 2 games left for Lewiston in the regular season, and against Clarkston, who Debbie Sabota has been a fantastic coach over there. You got to think it's a down year right now for the Bama girls.
Yeah, last week we really struggled. West Valley at home, getting in the paint. Pat Sabota and I talked this morning. For this game to happen and for them to win, we got to see the underneath play of Ogden and Pickett taking on Wessels. I mean, it's got to be the tempo. The biggest thing I see for Lewiston, and chatting with Pat about this, was Lewiston has played to the level of the team they're playing. And if you look at some of the earlier games, they've played down a lot with some of the smaller teams. Clarkson's got to bring it. Yes, Kendall Wallace is going to get her points and that, but I think it's going to come down to the bigs playing in the paint for the girls.
Yeah,
so
Pickett versus Wessels was going to be
that's going to be
very,
huge.
very fun to watch. And then on the boys' side, I'm so excited to watch this. Could have been the finals of the Vista tournament if we didn't invite Lapway. Let's just be honest.
You can come next year
because obviously Lewis and Clarkson both lose to Lapway during that tournament, and Lapway just handled both of them. But it's going to be really interesting. I think Clarkson has the better scores than Lewiston, but I think Lewiston has the better overall defense.
Right.
So it's going to be a weird matchup of styles and whether Clarkson can get on their runs. If Santana has a hot hand in this game, I think it's over. Because Lewiston is not a team that's built to go try to score 10 points in 2 minutes. They like to slow things down. So obviously, an Idaho school, no shot clock. Let's not get into that. But they like to slow things down.
It is a Clarkson host, so it will have a shot clock.
So excited.
So, yep.
But honestly, I think it depends on the hot hand of Santana for Clarkson.
Yeah, 100%. But I think it's going to come down to defensively. How do they defense against Santana? Whether it's Cruz Hepburn or whether it's McArcher, I think it's one of those 2 boys out there on them. But the Twin Towers, Dudley and Austin Simon has done unbelievable. I want to know how they do against Forsman in the paint. It's going to be
very good.
Forsman has been good over the last few weeks.
The Washington boys have been really good too. Yep. The size and size by both teams is going to be really impressive to watch.
I think it's coin flip both games. I really think it's going to be anybody's, and what these guys play in the scenario in the P1 FCU Activity Center. It's going to be
who had the harder time with Lapway, Clarkston or Lewiston.
I think it was pretty well a toss-up with the boys. I mean,
I can't remember what the score was for Clarkston.
You
guys opened with Lapway, right? No, we opened with Annie Wright.
Yeah, we opened with Annie Wright.
I can't remember what the score was with Clarkson and Lapway. I know Lewiston got down by 10, and it basically stayed that way the whole time. I think it ended up being a 20-point game. It kind of slipped away.
I think both of them were like 10, double digits.
Yeah. So it's going to be a really interesting game. But we got to ask you real quick because we're running out of time, and I'm going to need your help for this trivia question, even though he swears it's easy, and he always says that, but we never know. Who wins the Golden Throne at the end?
That's a trivia question?
Well, no, that's my I'm getting your prediction.
Prediction?
Yeah. Before we get
the throne itself?
Yep.
Well, let's see.
Clarkson wins it more often, but Lewiston has been
Yeah,
on
Clarkson
a bit better
does really
roll
good.
lately.
We got the
Lewiston won it last year, I think.
We got the streak here.
or a
Lewiston
year before last.
Lewiston won last time they played.
Mhm.
Clarkson leads at 16-10. Just to throw it out there, because I have it. Clarkson won the first 5.
Side with the most spirit.
Let's go with the logic of, has Clarkson missed any school because of this current pandemic? Maybe they aren't as organized. Let's go with the Bengals winning the Golden Throne. Oh, what a surprise! I chose the Bengals.
It will be
It is
interesting
always
because
is.
Clarkson is
Always
dealing
is.
with the COVID stuff right now with the wrestling team. That's why we're not going to have the Golden Plunger. One I was really excited to talk about there as well.
Oh.
That was supposed to be tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Very worried about all wrestling schools right now because they had that big Clearwater tournament in Lewiston last weekend. Clarkson was a part of it, and then they get the COVID stuff after.
What about that Clarkson girl wrestler that old Thiveridge has?
Kayla Rice right now 7th
wow.
in the state. She has been doing unbelievable. She won her matches at the Clearwater Classic, won her weight class. So
and won.
Kayla
Didn't she won
good.
the boys 106 class too or something?
Yep.
Or one of those. That's amazing. How do you? I don't know how do you wrestle a girl, but I watched on.
Done with her. She wrestles you.
Yeah, I watched it on the news tonight, and she's quick and amazing.
I'm sure Steve Ridge is having a blast.
Yeah, he's a
Coaching a
little
talent like
frustrated.
that.
So
For sure. All right, hit this trivia question real quick, and then we got to give it the updates while we have as many people here possible because our show is changing next month.
it's so crazy. And going through the stats and this day in history stuff, I stumbled across one, and it really hit home just because it's playoff time. 1994. Bernie Kosar is the second quarterback to throw a touchdown pass in the AFC and the NFC championships game. So the second one came later in his career. Who is the first quarterback to throw a touchdown in both an AFC game and an NFC game? And I'm almost 100% he's going to get it.
Really? It's not a baseball question.
So it's 94. There's a name that has come to mind for first, but I'm trying to remember it was before or after because I can't remember how long he played. But the first name that popped in my head was Joe Montana.
You are correct.
Oh,
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
But I just couldn't remember if it was
Chiefs.
before or after 94. I was trying to get my dates correct.
Yeah.
I was going to say George Blanda, my hero.
I got one that Denny did it.
I think Blanda was a Raider for life.
All right, Denny, it has been an absolute blast to have you on. I knew putting 30 minutes was still going to undercut it. He's been for the whole hour. He was here at 30 minutes before we got him on.
Well, okay.
Did you get kicked out of the house?
Well, here's the deal.
Or what?
I know where the press box is, and I know how to get into the activity center. I'm not real sure where all the other buildings are around here, to tell you the truth, even though I've wandered around for 40 years. So I wanted to make sure I got in the right spot. And then this guy out front here, hope he's not listening. I said, yeah, where's the radio? He sends me down there to the other end. He goes, oh, that's the office or something. I said, I think I saw their heads as I was walking in. But
listen, we've hit all over the United States tonight. Now your cousin's listening from Texas. So this is what you bring to our show.
I think this has been our most popular show by far, at least in the last year.
Gary Jr.'s down there.
Yeah, so.
But it's been absolutely blessed for everyone listening. If you enjoyed the show and not just the Denny part, which Denny was absolutely fantastic. In the month of February, our show is going to be on a different time slot due to high school basketball. One, if not both of us, have a game every Tuesday in the month of February that we will be calling. So what we're going to do is we're going to go online only again like we were for the Christmas break because there are shows here during this time. But we're going to be on Monday nights, 5 to 7 p.m., which means I have to go get my daughter a little early and try to distract her for an hour before mom gets home, just so that I can get down to the Tribune at time. So instead of 6 to 8 Tuesdays, it will be Monday nights, 5 to 7. I think that'll work out fine because we won't have Monday Night Football to battle with, and we will make that work for now. And maybe we'll just stick with it because there's things going on here at the radio station that might just be the new thing. But we will get to that there. So again, Denny, thank you so much for hanging out. I really hope that you do come down on Friday, especially come sit by me and feed me notes and stuff. I'm pretty sure I'll have a student there as well as far as helping me do color, but it's going to be so much fun.
Randy will be on the river.
I'll be on the river, 105.1, doing Lewis and Games. Clarkson is somewhere.
Yeah, they will be on 92.1 The Hank. The Clarkson call. That'll be Jamin Stamper, Pete Williams, and then you get to listen to me at the PA. So
yeah, we might need Denny to get between me and Jamin as we're throwing stuff. We get into it anyways, just for the teams that we root for, and then it's Lewis and Clarkson on top of it. But again, absolutely fantastic show. We're running over a little bit. I knew that was very possible, and I cut 2/3 of our show out, and we didn't even get to the rest of the stuff I kept in. But it's absolutely a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Oh, let me
Yes,
give
Denny.
you. If you got another second, I
Sure, yeah.
brought a present for you each. I collect baseball cards. I don't know if you can see this online, but
Camera right here,
oh,
if you want
have I been on camera the whole time?
yeah.
Oh, really? My hair. So they've seen my hat doesn't fit.
to. They've only made 37 comments.
All
about
right.
it.
The only baseball card made of a major company like Topps.
Mhm.
This is Donruss. You've probably heard of Donruss.
Yeah.
Bo Mills wearing an LCSC uniform.
Oh wow!
The
that's
only
very
LCSC
cool.
uniform on a major card company. They're
That is
numbered on the
awesome.
back. Keep those
Thank you.
as a memento for letting me come on and
Now all guests have to come give us gifts.
see if they can top that. You have to
That
top
is
that.
Denny
awesome.
Grubb has set it up. So thank you
You bet.
so much, Denny. And again, Denny, absolutely fantastic to have him on for this last hour. So many great stories. It's very fun to talk to you. Again, thank you, Sarah Muhausen, for coming on at the beginning of the show and talking to Robert. So I was dealing with all of the tech issues. Luckily, I brought back the backup microphone. I don't know what happened. Again, thank you to Wayne and everyone that was giving me updates on how the audio was going. I was hearing it in my headsets too. It was going in and out, and I don't know what was happening with it. And technology.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
Exactly.
That's it. Again, Monday night, 5 to 7 for the next at least 4 shows here on the R&R Sports Report. For now, that's Denny, that's Robert, and I'm Randy, and we